10 years to the day we were mated, Eric came home wearing the scent of his first love. He wrapped me in his scorching heat, his voice a hoarse whisper against my ear. I want you, Lyra. He hadn't marked me on a full moon in so long. But right now, the scent of another she-wolf on him was a bitter ache in my chest. The dinner I'd prepared for our full moon ritual was swept off the table by our cub River. He looked at me with his father's cold expression. Mom, your cooking doesn't even come close to Auntie Aurora's. Aurora, the first love Eric could never forget. The one he'd brazenly appointed as CFO of our Pax Corporation. They were the perfect pair, flaunting their connection for all to see. And I, his true mate, had become the Pax laughingstock. For 10 years, I played the part of the perfect mate and mother, only to become a shadow in my own home. That night I filed the request to the elders. I would sever the mate bond. Later, under the brilliant Alaskan Aurora, I received Eric's frantic mind link. Lyra, what about River if you leave? I let out a small laugh. River only needs you. Your first love is back, isn't she? Let her be the mother. I'm free. You're abandoning River? Do you have any idea he's preparing for the Pax advancement trials? Eric's voice was laced with pure annoyance. He pushed aside my petition to sever the bond as if I were a child throwing a tantrum. River was the cub I had carried in my own body, yet he was as cold and distant as his father. To him, I was just an accessory to him. To him, I was little more than a housekeeper, unworthy of even a shred of respect. We can tell him after the trials. Let's just perform the severance ritual first. He didn't seem to expect that. Eric finally looked up, his golden wolf eyes wide with shock. He softened his tone, putting on a performance of carefully crafted exhaustion. Lyra, I wasn't trying to hurt you at the ritual last night. I can apologize. There's no need to destroy everything we've built over something so small. His posture was humble, but his eyes screamed that I was being hysterical. Small. A sharp pain stabbed through my heart. His small thing was staying out late on our anniversary, coming home reeking of another woman. A she-wolf I knew and despised, Aurora. His first love. I had spent the entire afternoon in the kitchen preparing for our full moon ritual. When he walked in, I smiled and moved to greet him. He didn't even grant me a glance. During the ritual, the critical look on his face shattered what was left of my spirit. My composure finally broke, my voice trembling as I fought back tears. Is my food not to your liking? Or is Aurora's scent so intoxicating that you can't stand the sight of me anymore? Eric's face instantly darkened. He slammed his fork and knife on the table. I'll hire an Omega for the housework tomorrow. If you don't want to do it, there are plenty of wolves who would kill for the position. River had inherited his father's temper perfectly. He stared at me with icy eyes and, without a word, swept his entire plate of roasted meat onto the floor. Dad said it's burnt. I think it's disgusting too. The two of them never saw their own faults. They just blamed me for everything, trampling my dignity underfoot. They were so brazen because they thought I was broken, conditioned to obey without ever fighting back. Even a fraying of the mate bond was agony. To sever it completely, but my mind was made up. There was no turning back. The next day, the severance ritual was complete. 10 years. It was finally over. Eric was generous in the division of our assets. I received everything I was entitled to. My things were all packed. I thought we agreed to tell River after the trials. If you move out now, he'll get suspicious. Eric leaned against the doorframe, his voice a mix of confusion and a nearly imperceptible hint of panic. I'm just moving to the guest room, I said, my voice shaking as I fought to keep it steady. With my back to him, my eyes were already burning with unshed tears. You're in there so often you know the way, I murmured, my nails digging into my palms. My words left him speechless. I dragged my suitcase toward the door, my eyes scanning the nightstand. A photo of the three of us, our smiles frozen on the faded print. Though we were destined to part, the memory of that warmth was the one thing that had kept me going. A familiar ache returned. I wiped the tears from my eyes. Then, I turned and walked away without looking back. On the last day of River's trials, I boarded a flight to a remote town in Alaska. The air bit at my skin, but I welcomed the cold. It reminded me that I was alive, that I was free. For years, I tried to be the mate Eric needed, the polished Luna, the perfect Omega. I smothered my instincts, buried my wildness beneath silk dresses and obedient smiles. But none of it ever reached him. Not truly. Any Omega could do that. It's nothing, he would say when I presented pack reports or ran community events. The sycophants in the pack would immediately chime in. So true, Alpha. Lyra is so lucky. It's only by your power that she lives so comfortably. And the corporation's new CFO, Aurora, I hear she's an old flame of yours. Alpha, you two should be seen together more. Show us what a real power couple looks like. They'd say these things right in front of me, with no regard for my feelings. Aurora. I knew that name all too well. Eric's unforgettable first love from the Wolf Academy, his childhood sweetheart. For years, she was an invisible wall between us. Just when everyone in the pack thought the Academy's golden couple would be mated for life, Aurora broke up with him before graduation. She chose to explore the world rather than be tied down. Eric was a wreck for 6 months. Then came the family pressure, the weight of duty. He took over the pack. And me, the mate chosen by the moon goddess, or so they said. His lingering love for Aurora had blinded him to my decade of devotion. On our mating anniversary, he had gone to a class reunion. He came back reeking of alcohol, but even that couldn't mask the sharp, familiar scent. It was Aurora's signature scent, aggressive and invasive, a silent declaration of another woman's claim. It was a quiet testament to how pathetic my 10 years as his mate had been. But what stung more than the scent was the confusion in his eyes when I confronted him. He hadn't meant to hurt me. He just hadn't realized he still could. So I walked away. Leaving the pack was the bravest thing I'd ever done. After blocking all pack-wide mind links, I breathed in the crisp air of freedom. It felt so good. I closed my eyes, letting the cold Alaskan wind wash over me, cleansing a decade of heartache and humiliation. Just then my phone buzzed. A text from Eric. Where are you? You didn't take the moonstone necklace from the mating ceremony. I'll bring it to you. That necklace had once been my most treasured possession. Now it was a thorn in my side. If I left it, it means I don't want it. Do whatever you want with it. I typed back, my vision so blurry I could barely see the screen. I wiped my eyes on my sleeve, trying to stifle the sob building in my chest. If we were done, we had to be truly done. Without waiting for a reply, I blocked his number. On the way back to my cabin, my phone rang again. An unknown number. Hello, is this River's mother? I'm a counselor at the elite Wolf Academy. The voice on the other end was enthusiastic. River placed 5th in the trials this year. It's a fantastic achievement. However, he's expressed an interest in attending a human school. We were hoping you could speak with him before he makes a final decision. I gripped my phone, barely able to speak. My little boy 5th place, I wanted so badly to feel proud, to hold him and celebrate. I'm sorry, I said quietly, voice steady but soft. His father and I, we've severed our bond. I've left the pack. That's not my place anymore. The counselor went silent, clearly stunned. Then she pressed on. A good academy is crucial for a cub's future. Regardless of your situation, you're still his mother. We haven't been able to reach Mr. Eric, so if you could just... I'm sorry, I can't help you, I said firmly and hung up. How I wanted to be part of his life, part of his choices. But some battles are fought alone. Cubs are experts at reading people. River had witnessed every slight. Every time Eric cut me down with a cold word or a dismissive glance, River was there, watching, learning. And like any smart little wolf, he adapted. He mirrored Eric, his tone, his distance. My constant surrender only emboldened them. But I'd never had a choice. From the moment I took my first breath, my life had been mapped out by my mother. My only purpose was to be a pawn in a pack alliance, a bride with a price tag. I tried to fight it once. The price was my mother's cold fury and days. Locked in a dark room, the weight of my family's expectations crushing me. Pipe dreams. Your path was set long ago. You don't get a choice. I don't know what my mother did to forge the mate bond between Eric and me, but I knew it wasn't natural. The first time I met Eric, I saw the rejection in his eyes. He slammed the door and left that day, refusing to even look at me. And God's help me, a part of me was relieved. Surely an alpha like him could fight this, right? But in the end he took over the family business and, as expected, took me as his mate. I had no choice but to bow to my fate. After we were mated, he was different. Not warm but restrained. The sharp edges dulled. The anger faded into cool detachment. He remembered my birthday. He bought me gifts, a bracelet with his pack crest, a necklace that matched my lunar rank. But the smile never reached his deep, golden wolf eyes. It just played on his lips. Still, I told myself it was better than the silence. Now the silence is mine. As I was preparing to leave Alaska, my phone was bombarded with communication requests. All from Eric. He was using the pack network now, which meant he was getting serious. He could find me if he really wanted to. A sour feeling churned in my stomach. It felt like our roles had been reversed. Now that the bond was gone, he was the one who couldn't let go. But why? Why now, when he never cared about my pain before? After countless attempts from different numbers, I finally answered. Lyra. His voice was calm, but I heard the tension under it. Like he'd been rehearsing this opening line and still wasn't sure it would land. What are you doing in Alaska? You never said you wanted to go. Tell me when you're flying back, I'll pick you up. My heart felt like it was being ripped apart by invisible claws. How many times had I yearned for him to care like this, to ask where I was? Now here he was, calling, searching, chasing. But it was too late. Eric, I kept my voice steady, but it scraped raw against my throat. Eric, stop tracking me. There was a pause. A beat of silence on the line. I just want to talk, he said, but the words landed too unsure. I could barely breathe. Where I go, it has nothing to do with you anymore. You agreed to sever the bond. We're over. I don't want you in my life. Please just leave me alone. After hanging up, I sank to the floor, my shoulders shaking with silent sobs. To escape the past for good, I got a new SIM card. That same day, I booked a one-way flight to Seattle. There was only one person in this world who had never tried to use me or silence me. Iris. She was everything I wasn't allowed to be, fierce, unbound, fully herself. She'd left her pack years ago and built a life from scratch in a human city. When she was struggling to start her business, I had secretly used my personal savings to help her. When Eric found out, he'd scoffed. That little bit of money? That's not even enough for a bottle of wine for my weekend. Always knew where to aim his arrows. Not at the money, but at my pride. I was just trying to help a friend. What was so wrong with that? Lyra, with that kind of money, you couldn't even buy a necklace for one of Eric's new employees, one of his cronies had sneered. Oh, and that friend of yours probably a nobody, right? Just trying to sell you on friendship, so she can hitch a ride on the Alpha's gravy train. So transparent. They all laughed. And I stood there, my face burned with shame. Not because I didn't know how to fight back, but because no one had ever taught me I was worth defending. Now, Iris welcomed me into her city with open arms. No questions. No judgment. Just warmth and a spare bedroom. My days with her were peaceful, and I started to think about my future. I invested all the assets from the settlement into Iris's design firm, becoming a major partner. The investment scaled up the company overnight. I also officially joined as a designer. My professional skills had been dormant for so long that it was a struggle at first. But I found them again, bit by bit, sketch by sketch. Late nights fueled by coffee and music and laughter. I was building something that belonged to me. Confident about today's pitch? Iris asked me one morning. A confident smile played on my lips. Absolutely. Last night's final draft was a killer. With our expanded resources, we landed several major projects in a row. Even if things got tough, I now knew I had the strength to start over. At the celebration party, everyone was laughing and cheering our victory. But I couldn't help it. My eyes welled up, and soon I was crying silently. My colleagues fell quiet, gathering around me with concern. Iris knew. She came over and hugged me, rubbing my back gently. It's all in the past, Lyra. You're finally becoming yourself. Yes, it was all in the past. I looked up. My colleagues, though confused, did their best to comfort me. Hey, no tears. These are happy tears, right? We absolutely crushed it today. Exactly. You earned this. You're a major shareholder, after all. Our futures are in your hands, boss. The darkness in my heart finally lifted, replaced by a fragile light. I wasn't just someone's daughter, or Eric's mate, or River's mother. I was Lyra. With Iris's help, my work became smoother, and I had more free time. I decided to rediscover myself. I tried hiking and kayaking, visiting landmarks all over the city. These were vivid, real experiences I was never allowed in my past life. We loved to keep our fridge stuffed full, packing it with our favorite snacks and drinks. But as we returned from another shopping spree, our arms full of groceries, I got out of the car and froze. Standing quietly in front of my apartment building was Eric. He wasn't wearing a suit. He looked tired, rough around the edges, like maybe his wolf had stopped eating. And behind him, standing straighter than I remembered, was River. No longer a child, but a young man. I stood, still, bags in hand, pulse hammering against my ribs. The three of us sat facing each other in the coffee shop, the air thick with tension. River kept his head down, his fingers twisting the straps of his backpack, a nervous habit of his. He couldn't bring himself to look at me. Eric's gaze swept over my face, a cold smile playing on his lips. Lyra, you look like you're doing well for yourself since leaving me. I fought to suppress the fear my wolf felt at his scent. Then I met his golden wolf eyes directly. Yeah, life is pretty good after leaving you. What, you want to know the secret? His shoulders slumped slightly. Lyra, I was wrong before. For River's sake, can't you forgive me? River misses you. He needs you right now. We severed the bond, Eric. My voice was calm. Do I need to remind you? You signed the papers yourself. You have full custody of River. I have nothing to do with either of you anymore. A wave of exhaustion washed over me. I had to dig my nails into my palms to hold back the bitter ache in my wolf. You can't sever blood ties. Eric stared at me in disbelief, the gold in his eyes deepening. You're his mother. How can you be so heartless? I thought we had an understanding, Eric. I felt my heart turn to ash. We were never meant to be bound in the first place. Stop interfering in my life. I stood to leave, but a powerful grip clamped down on my wrist. I stumbled, then turned back calmly. Eric's fingers were like iron. Lyra! My wolf roared, and I ripped my arm from his forceful touch, shaking it off like it was something filthy. Then I walked out of that suffocating coffee shop without looking back. I didn't dare turn around, didn't dare see the expression on River's face. In that brief glance, I'd seen how shockingly thin my cub was. The sharp outline of his shoulder blades was visible even through his thin shirt. His gauntness was a needle, stabbing unexpectedly into the deepest part of my heart. Suddenly, I remembered a past I had tried so hard to forget. When River was first born, he was so pink and perfect, with a sweet milky scent. His little face was round and chubby, his eyes dark and bright, as if they held the stars. When he was learning to walk, he'd toddle unsteadily into my arms, rubbing his soft cheek against my neck, chasing me with a tiny voice. Mama, mama, hold. That dependent sound was once the most beautiful song in the world. When did it all change? It was every time Eric mocked me in front of River. It was every time he forcefully interfered with my affection for River, my every attempt to care. He accused me of spoiling River, of not knowing the rules, insisting on shaping River into the cold mold he'd designed. He should be satisfied with his work now. Eric didn't listen to my warning. He doubled down, sending a bouquet of flowers to my company's reception every single day. He brought me lunch, rain or shine, even after I threw it in the trash right in front of him. He even started staking out my apartment building, parking his car outside. I could clearly smell his scent, the oppressive weight of his alpha presence driving me crazy. His blatant behavior quickly got my colleagues talking. I had no choice but to tell them the truth. Hearing my story, they were furious on my behalf and quickly formed a united front. My colleagues immediately organized themselves, taking turns escorting me in and out of the office. Eric couldn't keep it up for long. I didn't care about his games. I knew he couldn't keep this up forever. He had a massive family corporation and pack affairs to manage. Just as he finally seemed to be giving up, I got a call from River. I froze for a long moment, my finger hovering over the screen, my heart pounding. I couldn't remember the last time he had called me on his own. Then I answered, but said nothing. The silence on the line was suffocating. I could almost hear his careful breathing. Finally, a weak, stuffy voice, soaked in the vulnerability of sickness, came timidly through the receiver. It held a pleading tone I almost didn't recognize. "Mom, I miss you so much. Can you and Dad just come see me? Please. Just once, please." Ever since Eric took him, River had almost never spoken to me like this. Perhaps being sick made him feel more vulnerable, more like a wounded little cub. The more he spoke, the more upset he became, until his voice was thick with unshed tears. "I know I was awful to you before. I was always annoyed with you. Always on Dad's side. I'm sorry, Mom. I was wrong. I really, really miss you." In the end, I didn't agree to go back with Eric. There was a time when a single cough from River would have kept me up all night. And now, hearing River plead through his tears, my heart still ached. But after the pain, there was a sharp clarity. Going back to revolving around them, doing that thankless housework, was not the life I wanted. With them gone, I finally had my own time to prepare for the new product launch at the beginning of next month. Although I had been preparing for a long time, it had been a while since I'd been in a situation like this, and I couldn't help but feel nervous. I took several deep breaths, feeling the strength from my wolf. Finally, I put on a professional smile and walked confidently toward the center of the spotlight. For 2 full hours, I spoke with ease and confidence under the gaze of the crowd. Hearing the applause from below, my wolf let out a satisfied hum in my chest. As I stepped off the stage, I caught a familiar scent. I followed it with my eyes. Not far away were Eric and River. Eric's eyes were full of approval. He gave me a nod, which I pointedly ignored. River, however, walked toward me, his eyes shining. "Mom, you were amazing," he said happily. "You were wasted stuck at home." I didn't respond and turned to leave. Eric approached with an elegant box in his hands, and I couldn't help but frown. "Lyra, that presentation was brilliant. Congratulations." He tried to press the expensive-looking gift into my hands. I took a step back, dodging the gesture, and waved my hand dismissively. I was about to walk past them, but Eric sidestepped to block my way. He lowered his voice, making it intentionally gentle. "Can we have dinner tonight? Our company is also very interested in this new product line. Our company has professionals to handle that." "Alpha Eric, you don't need to discuss these matters with me. If you'll excuse me." My all-business attitude made him clutch the gift box tighter. "Lyra, you know I'm not here for a business deal." His voice grew urgent, with an almost imperceptible plea. "I just want for our family to have a simple meal together." I looked him straight in the eye, my voice laced with ice. "Eric, my patience is limited. Don't make me repeat myself. We severed the bond. And who exactly are you calling family?" Without giving him a chance to reply, I walked straight past him without a backward glance. The fact that we had severed our bond was no secret. It had caused a huge stir at the time, yet my family had never contacted me. After the product launch, as the crowd began to thin, I unexpectedly ran into a familiar figure, my mother. The shadow of my childhood. I knew that sharp, cutting need for control in her eyes all too well. It held the deepest pain of my entire life. "Lyra, you've grown up, have you? You think you can defy me now? Severing your mate bond is a huge deal. Who gave you permission to make a decision like that?" Her scent coiled around me like a venomous snake, the pressure of her presence making the air heavy. "Now, you will come back with me immediately. While Eric is still willing to have you, you will go and remate with him." Sitting in the coffee shop, listening to her words, my throat closed up. I was speechless. My wolf snarled in my chest, no longer willing to back down. She had traveled all this way just to drag me back onto the path she had paved for me. My whole life, if she decided a path was right, she would push me onto it without any discussion. My wishes, my feelings, they were nothing in the face of the family blueprint she had so carefully constructed. My heart was completely cold. I looked into her eyes and, for the first time, said what I truly thought. I am your daughter. But in all these years, have you ever, even once, considered my feelings? From what clothes I wore, to what school I attended, even to who I would be mated to, every single step of my life was dictated by you. I was like a puppet with no emotions. I didn't even have a say in the person I was supposed to spend my life with. 10 years. Did you ever once care what kind of life I was living in his pack, or if I was suffering? If no one was going to love me, then I had to learn to love myself. The family's status no longer needs my pathetic mate bond to support it. As for Eric, I paused, letting out a cold, self-mocking laugh. His first love, the one he pined for over a decade, is back. Why should I go back to being an eyesore just to be despised? This time, I won't listen to you anymore. My wolf threw her head back and howled in my heart, declaring her freedom. My life would never return to that suffocating abyss. I was no longer the cub she could manipulate. I could control my own life now. I didn't need to waste my life on someone who didn't love me. My mother's brow furrowed tightly. She stared at me with a repressed intensity. She seemed to be trying to see through me, to understand the source of this sudden rebellion. Finally, the roiling anger and disbelief in her eyes were replaced by something deeper, something I couldn't read. She said nothing more. She whirled around, her heels clicking sharply and coldly on the floor. However, just as she was about to disappear around the corner, her steps faltered for a fraction of a second. Her body turned slightly, and her gaze shot to an inconspicuous corner. In that spot, Eric's figure was silently melting back into the shadows. Her eyes rested there for only an instant, so fast it was almost an illusion. Then she turned and strode away without looking back. I sat there frozen. I had already sensed his scent. I knew he would come. Lyra, his voice was hoarse, and he'd never been so humbled. Is there really no second chance for me? It was all my fault before. I ignored everything you did for us. I'll change, I swear. Believe me. Looking at him now, he was a stranger. A completely different person from the proud, distant alpha I remembered. He waited through my silence, then sighed heavily. He yanked at his tie in frustration. His once perfectly styled hair was now a mess on his forehead, making him look utterly defeated. When I stood up to leave, he practically lunged, his wolf instincts taking over. He grabbed my wrist in a panic. His strength was shocking. Don't go. Please, I'm not finished. You can't leave. He was rambling, his eyes filled with a desperate panic. I've been in love with you for years. I was just too stupid, too cowardly to admit it, to face it. Since you left, that house, it's empty. Like a tomb. Every day I go back, my heart feels empty too. It's all my fault. I failed you. Just give me one more chance, okay? One last chance. It was so ridiculous. In 10 years, he had never once said he loved me. Now here he was saying he loved me. It was an absurd joke. Was that love? Eric, when you kept that wolf fang pendant from Aurora locked away like a holy relic in your office safe for 10 years. Was that love? When you held me close during countless heat cycles, only to whisper Aurora's name over and over again? Was that love? When you spent our 10th mating anniversary with Aurora? Eric froze completely. Every one of my questions was a sharp slap across his face. His lips moved, but it took him a moment to find his voice. Aurora, I swear, we haven't been in contact for a long time. His breathing grew ragged, his golden eyes flickering with unease. The last time we met, it was I just wanted to see if she was doing okay. I just wanted to give my past a perfect ending. A perfect ending? I let out a cold laugh, a sound filled with ice. And did you ever think about me? I waited for 10 years, Eric. You turned my entire mating into a joke. Your regret, your love, it's all too little too late. And frankly, it's cheap. It just makes me sick. I turned and walked away. He stood there, frozen in place like a clumsy clown whose every pathetic disguise had been ripped away, his face ashen and defeated. The new product line was a massive hit, and I was so busy I was spinning like a top. My wolf was also exhausted from the overwork. Finally, my vision went black, and I collapsed in the middle of the conference hall. You're awake? As I blearily opened my eyes, the first thing I saw was the ever-present ghost that was Eric, his face haggard from lack of sleep. I could smell the anxiety coming off him. You can be busy, but you have to take care of yourself. Luckily, I was nearby and got you to the break room in time. Thanks. I cut him off coolly, my voice weak and hoarse. He acted as if he couldn't hear the rejection in my tone, and continued. Lyra, come home with me. Let me take care of you. I won't let you work so hard again. How are you feeling? A clear, capable female voice cut him off decisively. Iris walked in carrying a thermos and a stack of files, pushing Eric to the side. She came straight to me, placing the thermos on the coffee table. Your wolf needs to recover her energy. This is freshly brewed moon herb bone broth. It'll help awaken your wolf's healing abilities. Also, these urgent files need your review, but there's no rush. You can look at them when you feel better. Eric watched as Iris expertly opened the thermos, then naturally began to press specific points on the back of my neck to help my wolf recover faster. Her movements were fluid and intimate, as if she had done it 1,000 times before. He just stood there, completely at a loss. He watched as I gave Iris a tired but relaxed smile. We ignored him as if he were thin air. Iris finally seemed to notice his presence and gave him a polite but distant nod. Alpha Eric, Lyra needs to rest. I'll take care of her. Please feel free to go. No matter how unwilling he was, Eric couldn't stay any longer. He gave me one last, deep look. His eyes were a storm of complex emotions, confusion, loss, and finally just defeat. In the end, he left without another word, his back disappearing through the doorway. Iris gently closed the door, shutting out the outside world. The room was filled only with the clean herbal scent of the moon herb broth and the soft rustle of paper. I was once trapped by my longing for Eric, unable to find myself, losing all my dignity. Now that I no longer needed his love, he was acting so devoted. It was strange to see him so humbled, when for years, that had been my role. My wolf let out a quiet sigh. Maybe she'd be moved by Eric. Maybe not. Who knows anymore?